Here I am, above them, hiding in the shadows, admiring the beauty below. In the blink of an eye, I will repaint this canvas in my own colors. Mostly red. An artistic love child of 19th century England, modern technology and a dystopian future, Arkane Studio's 2012 masterpiece Dishonored is a gorgeous but gory visit to the island of Crystal, part of the Island Empire, located northwest of Pandysia, a vast, mostly uncharted continent full of harm, heretics, and horror. Dishonored is a stealth action-adventure game. The player may use a blade, a gun, and magical abilities to get to the place, the thing, or the person that they want. And more times than not, this thing they want dead. And in a world of such things as the rat plague and authoritarian regimes, that doesn't seem to be too much out of place, but Dishonored strikes a balance between gruesome violence, finely drawn beauty, political spectacle, and the disarming innocence of a child. Our protagonist is Corvo Atano, the royal protector turned enemy of state, a victim of a murderous conspiracy revolving around an empress, a child, a plague, dark magic, and a lot of blood. After being rescued from wrongful imprisonment, he fights his way from the dirtiest gutters up to the most shining palaces in search of revenge and purification of his name. And this is where my little video can already fall apart a bit. If one wanted to, they could finish this game without one single kill, severely lowering the contrast between violence and beauty of the game. But I can only judge the game from my point of view, my style of playing, and I gotta say, while I'm not super keen on high chaos and many kills, the occasional body has fallen to my feet in one way or another. Over the course of the game, we travel through Dunwall, generally rising in social status and pomp. We start out in a prison, take rest in a pub, visit workers' homes and dark alleys in the distillery district, stalk through the occasional villa or two on John Clavering Boulevard, try not to get caught in a funhouse for the rich and powerful, and even wander amongst the illustrious patrons of Lady Boyle's ball, only to drop even lower than the prison a few missions later. In the alleys and gutters of the poor and forgotten, death and despair paint the walls and floors, sometimes literally. Graffiti warning, blaming and damning shine brightly white between the bodies of the ones consumed by the plague, sometimes not as dead as one would wish them to be. But just behind that house, that wall of light, aristocrats, politicians, professors, and the generally wealthy cling to a standard of living not available, not even imaginable for the rest of society. Bright, colorful, underlined by music, party, and lust, these places are beautifully crafted as we blink and climb through them, to be disgusted by the apathy of the rich and feeling a slow but constant increase of validation for what we are doing inside of us, for the ideas that pop into our heads. Every one of Dishonored's levels is like a painting, not only because of its cartoonish, painted art style, but also because the colors, shapes, and materials were all so obviously carefully chosen that it serves as a constant reminder of how much of an art form games really are. You are a visitor in these paintings, sometimes disrupting them, sometimes leaving them be. And as the game increases in grime and violence relative to the amount of souls you send to the outsider's realm, you yourself become the painter. You decide how much red splatters on the walls, if the bodies lay sleeping temporarily or forever. Dishonored's art style can't be discussed without mentioning its late visual designer Viktor Antonov, a Bulgarian artist who worked as the art director for Half-Life 2. And once you know this little piece of trivia, it becomes more than obvious. Just like the insect-inspired striders, tall boys roam the streets of Dunwall, if not as tall, but similarly frightening. A mysterious figure speaking to you from the void, sending you on your way to solve a riddle, fix a problem that you are an integral part of but never had the intention of being. And then there's just the general vibe and atmosphere, mostly of the more technologically advanced aspects of the levels. While Dunwall's dark alleys, damp floors, and polished pieces of public protection are a, well, quite palpable setting for a game like this and open up many different paths for design and ambience, by having the second game be set in the jewel of the south at the edge of the world in sunny Carnaka, a whole onslaught of challenges in the design department emerge. Generally, Carnaka, a city on the island of Serkonos, is bright and sunny, reminiscent of Spain, Greece, Italy, and Cuba, all places one would much rather visit than dark, dirty Dunwall. Still, it is the epicenter of another royal intrigue, and on top of that is the hub of magic, corruption, and vile creatures literally nesting in the town's citizens. The rats, which were devouring the population of Dunwall 15 years prior, are replaced by their natural enemies, the bloodflies. The rats are known to feed on the bloodflies' young'un, while the bloodflies lay their eggs on the rats. They are bound by blood, just like the Caldwins and their bloodline of beneficiaries and those left behind. Unlike the unshapely Duke of Serkonos, bloodflies can actually serve useful purpose to the unfortunate citizens of Carnaka. In the later stages of their life, they lose their wings and become equally unshapely beetles, useful in agriculture. In a perverse act of balance, the bloodflies first feed on and make use of the bodies of humans, only to then be used to feed and be of use for the bodies of humans. It feels like to not make the warm and sunny demeanor of Carnaka be too much of a contrast to gloomy Dunwall, that it needed to be frightening in another way, for example by the abominable bloodflies. On the cleaner, yet not less frightening end of the spectrum of adversaries, we find the Clockwork Soldiers, Kirin Jindosh's highly expensive, highly complex, and highly deadly score of robot protectors. They are clean, calculating, and with Jindosh's voice playing as they audibly relay what they are thinking, one shouldn't even start to consider what these blades may do to flesh and bone. Carnaka delivers on a difficult premise, to match Dishonored 1's almost dystopian vibe with a bucket of sunlight splashed on top. That, of course, needn't mean that it doesn't have its fair share of dark alleys and shadowy levels too. To absolutely hammer home the ever-present contrast between beauty and destruction, the mission Crack in the Slab has our protagonist jump between different points in time. In one, we see the lavish interior of Ramis Stilton's manor. In the other, we see what's left of it, a decrepit, dark place that tells none too pleasant stories. Just as Carnaka is the bright counterpoint to Dunwall, the past is the present's colorful, more lively match. Yet, in the end, beneath the surface, at a future point in time, Carnaka might become a broken home itself. As we move through the paintings that are the levels of Dishonored, we move as ghosts, if we want to, elegant and smooth, hidden and dangerous. Many try to finish the game without a single casualty, very likely as a challenge, but perhaps also as to not taint the game's beauty with a sacrilege of unnecessary blood and gore. Others share their sense for the game's beauty, but decide to induce violence into said beauty, not to tarnish it, but to advance it, broaden its meaning. And then, of course, there are those who steamroll their way through the world, shoot, decapitate, steal, curse, and seem to lack a sense of appreciation for what the games are offering. But do they? Who are we to judge what is beauty, what is not, what harms beauty, and what increases it? It boils down to simple questions. What does it say about you if you leave everyone alive? What are your motivations? Are you actively conserving beauty, saving lives, or are you afraid of mistakes? And what about you, the ones who kill with a plan, with vigor behind the taking of life? Why do you kill? Why do you make it look graceful and methodical, so much so that you upload it to YouTube for others to admire your skill? There's no criticism in these questions, they are just here to highlight Dishonored's ability to even raise them in the first place, which is a thing of beauty on its own. And if they do decide to send balls and blades through the watcher's eye sockets, the best of the best do it almost like a dance, every move meticulously planned and adjusted to the rhythm of the situation. Placing their counterparts where they need to be, these players lead the dance to demise like no one else. And others, like me, we like to play in and watch from the shadows, only killing when we need to, or when our and the game's warped sense of morality align. And our tools with which we commit those killings are just as surgically precise as we are. A blade sharpened to cut everything it touches, a crossbow bolt calibrated to split hairs, a pistol, well, for those with less of an inclination to subtlety, and the mask, which hides us, aids and makes us a phantom that instills respect, fear, or even admiration in Dunwall's and Carnaka citizens. Finally, underlined by mechanical sounds, these weapons open as the player deploys them, fold away when they are not needed, and make way for Corvo's or Emily's hands, ready to be slightly warped by the magic that protrudes from them. They are an extension of the protagonist, and thus it is so much more hindering and symbolic when they are taken away or initially given. Both Dishonored 1 and 2 include several artists, but 3 stand out: Anton Sokolov, Alexandria Hypatia, and Delilah Copperspoon. While Sokolov is more of a traditional artist, besides being a scientist, Hypatia is focused on science quite a lot more, which in and of itself is already kind of an art. Both seek beauty and humanity in their dark worlds. Sokolov paints it onto his canvases, and Hypatia is known for inventing the Adamaya solution, created to help the silver miners of Carnaka, thereby creating healing and well-being, undoubtedly beautiful things. Ironically, testing an early version of her solution made her into something devastatingly opposite of her helpful nature, and it lies in our hands if she will find her way back to her old self, or if she will succumb to the inevitable rot of Dishonored's universe. And then there's the hidden smirch of the Caldwin's lineage, Delilah Copperspoon. She's the illegitimate daughter of Euhorn Caldwin, and therefore Empress Jessamyn's half-sister. Before becoming one of the most feared women of the known world, she was Sokolov's student, and despite being betrayed by her half-sister and enduring a life in the prisons, gutters, and perils of Dunwall, painted a better, brighter world, much to the admiration of her tutor. Having an interest in and being a vessel for the dark arts and magic made her lose Sokolov's appreciation and pave the way for her to become who we know today. Starting out with such promise, with royal promise, she fell harder and deeper than most in Dishonored's universe. Through her art, she keeps clinging onto some kind of beauty, even though she also uses her paintings to capture the spirits of other people. Again, it is the staple of this universe. Beauty and death lie next to each other. Even though I wouldn't consider myself to be much of an artist, I too tried to find the beauty in the violence, the color in the blood of Dishonored, because I find it to be strangely beautiful in its own twisted way. The Royal Conservatory being an opulent, beautiful building hiding a dark secret, or the flooded district evoking not even a speck of grandeur now. But if you look closely behind rot, mold, and ruin, you find what once was a striking city, now in shambles. And maybe you have seen it too, the balance, the dance between blood and beauty, darkness and light in Dishonored's world. Either when you played the game for yourself, or hopefully, finally, while watching this video. Either way, thanks for watching.